The most important item for discussion at this meeting was the launch site arrangements for the National Disability Insurance Scheme. I am in a position to announce that there has been an agreement between the Federal Government, South Australia, Tasmania and the ACT on hosting launch sites. The National Disability Insurance Scheme is the vision we need for this country to overcome a fundamental unfairness. At the moment, your chance of getting assistance if you have a disability depends on how you got that disability, and it depends on where you live. People who have acquired their disability, say, in a workers' accident, will get workers' compensation. But for someone who is born with a profound disability, acquires it by an accident that didn't happen at work or didn't happen through a motor vehicle, maybe diving into a river or some other sort of accident, or people who get a debilitating disease and acquire a disability, these people do not get appropriate support. We've described this as a cruel lottery because that's exactly what it is. Your chances of getting help and care dependent on how you acquired your disability and where you live. As a Labor government, we have been determined to address this unfairness. We asked the Productivity Commission to guide us, and they recommended a National Disability Insurance Scheme. I have worked with my state and territory colleagues on this vision of a National Disability Insurance Scheme. The next step towards this vision of fairness is launch sites, making sure that around the country we see people better assisted than they are now, making sure that in different circumstances around the country we are best able to assess what the full model of the scheme should look like. That is, we can learn by doing, we can learn by helping people who have a disability. I am pleased that we will see 3 launch sites go ahead: in South Australia for young people, in Tasmania for adolescents, and in the entire region of the ACT. Each of these jurisdictions stepped forward and was prepared to put money on the table. Each of these jurisdictions stepped forward and was prepared to work with the Commonwealth under agreed governance arrangements. The federal government made the really tough decisions it needed to in the last budget so that $1 billion is available for launch sites. I am very disappointed that we have not been able today to strike an agreement with either New South Wales or Victoria, or indeed Western Australia, on hosting a launch site. I do note that in Western Australia, Premier Barnett has recently led a new disability initiative called My Way, and we will be working with Western Australia to learn what we can from this new initiative, My Way, and the way in which it is assisting people with disabilities. I am disappointed that for Victoria and New South Wales, we were not able to reach agreement today. An agreement with New South Wales would mean that 10,000 people in the Hunter region would have benefited from the launch of a National Disability Insurance Scheme. It means 5,000 people in the Barwon region of Victoria would have benefited from the launch of a National Disability Insurance Scheme. The Commonwealth contribution to these launches would have been around $300 million in New South Wales and $100 million in Victoria. Unfortunately, neither New South Wales nor Victoria was able to step forward with some relatively small amounts of additional financing to make these launches possible. We will continue to work with these jurisdictions in the hope of seeing change, because I do find it disappointing that there will be people with disabilities in those regions tonight who will go to bed uncertain rather than knowing that they will be the subject of a launch site arrangement and that they will see change and improvement in the care in which they receive. In addition to the National Disability Insurance Scheme, COAG today has discussed the question of construction costs. COAG has agreed to a review to be led by 3 people, a panel of reviewers. There is concern in a number of jurisdictions about cost drivers in construction. We are seeing productivity improvements in construction, but there are concerns about costs. We are a nation that is seeing rapid development in the resources sector and beyond, and consequently that review has been agreed to and will be undertaken. There's been agreement too that each of us is concerned about the escalation in electricity prices arising from the investments that we are seeing in poles and transmission. That is, if you like, the hardware of the system. It is certainly true that the biggest cost driver for households and their electricity costs, for families, for small businesses, is the costs arising because of the investments into poles and transmission. As the nation's leaders, we have said we are concerned about that cost escalation for families and for small businesses, and we have urged our energy ministers to ensure that their work is squarely aimed at improving the deal that customers get. Then finally, whilst we have worked through some other areas, including on the seamless national economy and better arrangements for business, finally we also dealt with the item of royal succession. We have been asked by the United Kingdom, we have been asked particularly by Prime Minister Cameron to review the way in which royal succession works in this country. Prime Minister Cameron at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Perth made it very clear that he wants to achieve arrangements where the succession in the royal family does not have gender discrimination associated with it, nor discrimination against Catholics. In order to achieve that, countries like Australia need to act. We are all united in saying that we do want to act to achieve that result.